Good day and welcome to my channel. My name is Rhod Mackenzie and today I want to talk about how Beijing has been successfully increasing the use of the Chinese currency, the Yuan, on the global stage. Now this has come about because it's currently offering its debtors the opportunity to convert their loans denominated in dollars into Yuan. This strategy is already proving a success as Kenya has already consented to this proposal and it stands to save several hundred billions on its loan repayments. Also, so-called Panda Bonds have seen a surge in popularity. Each new agreement contributes to the Yuan's increased international circulation. Now, the People's Republic of China is currently offering debtor countries to convert their dollar loans into those of the Chinese countries. Now, in exchange, the borrowers receive substantially lower interest rates, so thereby saving money. I mean, with Kenya having taken out loans to cover its construction of the railway system between Mombasa and the coast, it's saving $215 million annually in its debt servicing costs. Ethiopia is currently in discussions with China regarding the potential conversion of a portion of its $5.38 billion debt into Yuan-denominated loans. Another of China's major debtors on the African continent, Zambia, is also considering switching from dollar-denominated loans to Yuan. Now, this initiative can meaningfully reduce the debt burden and generate savings is naturally of interest to us, said the finance minister of Zambia, Situbeko Mukuptalwani. According to Yuan Huang of the Chinese African Studies Initiative at the Johns Hopkins University, there's potential for a number of countries, including Laos, Djibouti, Congo, Mozambique, and Senegal, to follow the Kenyan model. Now, before I continue, many of you watching this video are not subscribers to my channel, so if you've enjoyed this video, then please hit the subscribe button and also click on the alert bell so you get notified when I post a new video. Plus, if you want to support me, you can make a donation by clicking on the thanks button at the bottom right hand side of the screen or by clicking on the Buy Me a Coffee link below in the credits. Now, China's strategy of converting dollar loans into Yuan is not actually a new development, but it's been part of its consistent long-term policy. The Yuan's expansion really started in the late 2000s. In 2016, IMF included Yuan in the special drawing rights basket, thereby granting it the status of a freely usable currency. Moreover, China's been developing and continues to expand its banking network and the CIPS international payment system. Now, it's evident that the financial infrastructure requires users, and this can be accomplished through debt restructuring to other countries, according to Mikhail Gordienko, who's Professor of Sustainable Development Finance at the Russian University of Economics. Now, this approach is mutually beneficial. I mean, the borrower can mitigate the risk of default by adjusting the loan terms to their advantage, while the lender can boost demand for its currency and maintain demand for its institutions. I mean, while the US was dealing with inflation increasing its base rate, China maintained low rates in the face of its deflationary trends. Consequently, borrowing countries receive lower interest rates from China than they do from using the dollar, which obviously saves them money. Moreover, emerging markets gain access to a more predictable source and stability of funding, plus the ability to restructure their debt with more flexibly, according to Erlan Abdekarov, who's the director of Freedom Finance Global. Now, a number of countries have already borrowed from China, and they're all now benefiting from the restructuring of their Yuan-denominated bonds. Now, according to the World Bank's classification, as many as 78 of the poorest countries in the world are indebted to China to a price of $67 billion. Conversely, if these loans are all converted into Yuan at lower interest rates, it's going to provide these countries with much needed fiscal space, while China will not lose anything. Conversely, the Yuan share of global debt is going to be projected to rise. China has implemented a number of strategies to promote the use of the Yuan on a global scale. Now, these include the conversion of US bond issues into Yuan bonds, as well as the expansion of the People's Bank of China swap lines network. I mean, this year, Hungary and Kazakhstan issued Yuan-denominated Panda Bonds for the first time. Sri Lanka has received a $500 million loan in Yuan for the construction of a major highway, and Indonesia is preparing its first offshore Yuan-denominated bond issue. By 2025 October, government, state-owned banks and international organisations had raised twice as much in Yuan through loans and bonds, totaling about 68 billion Rand, which is about $10 billion as they did in all of 2024. The People's Bank of China also has currency swaps with around 30 countries. This instrument facilitates settlements in the yuan without the use of the dollar. China's strategic objective is to consolidate the yuan's position as a global currency, particularly in relation to the dollar. So as a result, Beijing has reduced its holdings of US government debt by hundreds of billions of dollars while simultaneously promoting its holdings of its own government debt. Now, a number of conditions could see China catch up, in a way, to the US debt market. These include full yuan convertibility and the removal of capital controls. Other necessary steps could be legal reform, regulatory independence, and the creation of a transparent, competitive environment for private and foreign participants. However, a full financial account opening could potentially destabilise the domestic market where their debt levels are high and banks are reliant on government financing. So it seems that China's choosing a gradual path, moving towards greater openness while avoiding any financial shocks. I mean, China still continues to implement stringent capital controls, with the People's Bank of China overseeing the management of the yuan's exchange rate. This curtails its free circulation and makes the currency slightly less appealing to international investors, particularly for long-term bond investments. Now, the challenge of displacing the dollar continues to be a significant issue. However, China is proactively pursuing the establishment of a multi-currency system in which the yuan strengthens its position in the settlements and lending, thereby creating a yuan zone of influence without aspiring to become the single global reserve currency. Now, this is a step towards a more multipolar financial system where China becomes just one of the centres of power, but not a hegemon. Now, the Bank for International Settlements has reported that global yuan turnover has reached $817 billion per day, closely approaching the volume of the British pound sterling. Now, the Chinese currency's share of global foreign exchange transaction has reached 8.5% compared with 7% in 2022. By comparison, the pound sterling has gone down from 12.9% to 10%, so it's evident that the yuan is firmly establishing itself as the fifth largest currency in the world by trading volume and is increasingly closing the gap with the pound. The introduction of each new yuan settlement agreement and the issuance of each bond results in an increase in the volume of the Chinese currency in international circulation. Thereby, this increases the yuan status. By offering more favourable terms, this allows China to exert economic influence over the debtor country and build mutually beneficial cooperation with it, taking into account all the circumstances of the interaction. Now, swap lines provide easy access to yuan without the need to purchase the currency on the open market. Now, these are precedent-setting agreements. I mean, for instance, between the People's Bank of China and the European Central Bank, it stipulates the allocation of 355 billion yuan and 45 billion euros in 2025. Now, this practice continues to contribute directly to the internationalization of the yuan, creating an initial official channel for its use in international settlements and strengthening the trust in the currency. So that's how China is trying to change the financial architecture in the world. Thank you for watching. I'll see you all again soon.